Welcome to Talking Out the Box podcast. I am your host, Lamont Ferguson. And I've been off last week. I was off. I had to take a little break, had a little staycation. So I stayed at home and I enjoyed home. It's kind of hard to enjoy home, or not hard to enjoy home. No, I'm just joking. No, I love being at home. The home is great. I have a house full of females. Got my wife, 3 girls. So all ladies are in my house at my staycation. So you know my house is always jumping. I have a 21-year-old, 17-year-old one, and an 11-year-old that want to be 17 and 21. So it's always. So I do have a first son, and that's Chase. That's my little dog, my little Jack Russell. So it's just me and him. And so when you have a staycation, the house still is running, functioning, full throttle. To all my girl dads, y'all understand what I'm talking about. Boy, oh boy. But anyway, welcome. I missed y'all when I was out last week, but we got a lot to talk about. And before we get into that, y'all know what I have to open up with. Be great on purpose. And always, you always got to be great on purpose. Be intentional about what you do in life. Don't let everything just happen. Oh, I just happened to do this. Oh, I just happened. Don't go around walking like a nomad or a vagabond. Have a purpose. Be great on purpose. So if you are a janitor or a plumber or a landscaper or an entertainer, whatever you do, man, be great on purpose. That's all. I want some of that Powerball action. I want to be great with that Powerball. That's what I want. No diddy. Pause. You got to say pause when you say Powerball. That's what these youngsters say. These, YNs, they say. You got to say pause when you say certain things. But anyway, so the current events, so we're gonna keep on moving. But like I said, you gotta be great on purpose. And the other one, I'm sorry, I gotta go back, is stay connected to God. Because listen, well, I always utilize this little analogy, a little wordplay with staying connected to God, because a lot of people trust in their Wi-Fi a whole lot. And they act like they can't function without their Wi-Fi, or they get upset if their Wi-Fi get disconnected, or the Wi-Fi is not at 5 bars or whatever it's supposed to be. But listen, if you stay connected to God, your connection would never ever be shaky or disconnected for non-payment, because He's already paid for your sins. Oh, wow, that was powerful. Ooh, that was actually some bars. But y'all get what I'm saying. But just stay connected to God. Let's go ahead and hop into these current events. Let me see. I want y'all to come in a little closer. I saw a story, because like all these ICE agents are out here getting these people out for their jobs and out of their houses and stuff, that they're saying they're illegal immigrants, and they got visas that expired and green cards that don't work. Oh, the green cards, it's not the right color. There's the green cards is faded. They trying to do all kind of stuff to get these people out of our country, which is it's ridiculous. But however, this guy is my hero. There was a tow truck driver. Check this out. Y'all gotta come close. Y'all have to come close a little bit. Come closer. The tow truck driver. Get this. There was a tow truck driver on the scene while the ICE agents was going into an apartment complex, or they were going to somewhere trying to get these so-called immigrants out. They was going into this apartment or whatever. I'm sorry, I had to cut something off. I had something going on over there. So they went in, and while the ICE agents was busy trying to get these so-called people that they call immigrants, illegal immigrants that probably are here legally, But the tow truck driver was towing the ICE agent's vehicle away. He was trying to intervene in the situation, but they end up getting the tow truck driver and they charged him with interfering. And now this guy's gonna get time. But man, I just think that was pretty heroic. We like, hey, if I take your truck, where are you gonna put these people at? That was pretty interesting. I just thought that that was that was actually phenomenal. Like, thumbs up to that guy. Let's move on to politics as usual. Our principle of the United States is at it again. Number one, they removed the security or whatever from the security detail from former Vice President Harris. And I believe that she was on an extension. And so this guy, the principal of the United States, y'all know who I'm talking about, removed the security detail from protecting her. So now that sent her to be like vulnerable to anything. And this guy is definitely King Petty. What I mean, like that's just wrong, man. They're wrong. Pure T wrong. The other thing that our principal of the United States have done since we've last talked, the troops, National Guard is going into the cities of the Democrats. That's just called a spade. Now these are my opinions. These are my opinions. I believe he's going after places that's ran by Democrats and people of color. If there's a person of color involved in that running that state or that city, he's going after them. Or if they're a Democrat, he's going after those cities and sanctuary cities. And he's putting boots on the ground in these cities. He's already done DC. He's threatened to do New York, and he's threatened to do Chicago. He's saying Chicago, there's a spike in crime, and they're going to need help from the U.S. government, and they're going to put boots on the ground against the citizens of Chicago. People, come a little closer. All I want to know is, where was this energy when January 6th went down? When all that rioting went down, while you was in your spot watching the whole thing go down, while these people that's climbing up the walls next to steps and stuff like that, people were injured, people lost their lives, and you pardoned a lot of those people that was rioting, and you said they were good people that were rioting. What was this energy with the boots on the ground and helping deploy and save the lives of people? You sat there and you let it happen. Now you're saying we need assistance in these cities. People, we gotta wake up. We gotta wake up. I know we live in a country where, yes, you can vote for whoever you want to vote for. You can vote for Republican, Democratic, Independent, Tea Party, Boston Tea Party, the Green Tea Party, the Independent Party, this party, that party. You can vote for whoever you want to. You can vote for the Barney Party, the Blues Clues Party, whoever has a party, you can vote for them. But my thing to you all is, let's be realistic with our vote. If you have a guy or a young lady, or there's a man or woman running, because everybody's allowed to run, and if your particular candidate is really not the one, be realistic. Yes, you know, the current principal of the United States might have been your person, but be realistic. What's wrong is wrong. What's right is right. That's what my grandma taught me. I don't know if y'all got grandmas, nanas, TT, whoever. But I had a granny. My granny knew everything. She had sayings. She knew about sports, all this stuff. That's a whole nother show. But however, she She said, if you're right, you're right. You're wrong, you're wrong. And in this situation, the current principal of the United States is definitely wrong. So when we go out and vote for our local elections, please open your eyes and make the correct selection. All right, for us. All right, well, let's move on. I'm off my soapbox. Why did they say you're on the soapbox? And you might be heavy. You might crush the soapbox. I don't know. What kind of soapbox are you standing on when you're standing on your soapbox? Is it Dove? I don't know. I just some things I thought about. All right, next. The NFL is here. It is starting this week. My NFL picks, I wrote them down. So, hey, listen, we're going to keep a track of all my wins and losses. We're going to keep track and see how accurate Ferg is. All right, for the first game of the season, I got, hold on, let me go this. I got to do it the right way. I'm going to pull it up real quick because, I got a fantastic guess. So, on my picks, we got Dallas versus Philly. I got Philly in this one. Reigning champions, and they at home, and Dallas then got rid of Parsons. We already know that. The next game, I got Kansas City over the Chargers. I have the New York Jets over Pittsburgh. Aaron Glenn is out to prove that he is a coach's coach. This is his first game of the year, first game coaching, and now he's out to prove that that is what he's supposed to be doing, coaching. We got New York Giants versus Washington. We got Washington on this one. They got a great team. Jane Daniels, phenomenal, and they at home. Come on, man. Russell Wilson, you ain't got nothing on this game. Tampa Bay versus Atlanta. I got Tampa Bay. Cincinnati versus the Cleveland Browns. Joe Burrow and the company, you ain't got nothing on the Browns at home. Myles Garrett is ready to, he's ready to do his thing because people was trying to get him off of that team, and he stayed. We got Miami versus the Colts. I got the Colts at home. Carolina versus Jacksonville. This is a no-brainer. This game is up in the air. It's probably about the weakest game of the first week of games. I'm going to go with Jacksonville. Trevor Lawrence, I believe he's not injured yet. He's always getting injured. But he's going to be firing on all cylinders. The next game, we got the Raiders versus New England. I got the Raiders going in New England, doing their thing because New England hasn't been the same since Brady left. And y'all know that. Arizona versus New Orleans. They got a lot going on in New Orleans, and then documentaries that they're releasing, and Katrina and all that stuff about Katrina. We'll talk about that in a little bit. I got New Orleans. Kyler Murray ain't got nothing on New Orleans. Tennessee versus Denver. I got Tennessee. San Fran versus the Seattle. I got San Fran. We got Detroit versus Green Bay. Ooh, this is going to be a good one. Michael Parsons may or may not be starting for Green Bay. It don't matter. I got Detroit. We got Green Bay's numbers. Houston Texans versus the Rams. Matthew Stafford. Texans, they're a very explosive team. They're going to come in there and do their thing. All right. And then you have Baltimore versus Buffalo. I got Buffalo. Minnesota versus Chicago. Ben Johnson is getting his shot at coaching. But I don't think he's ready for this game because Minnesota is ready to do their thing. That's Ferg's picks. I'm going to keep track of that. And we're gonna see how I do throughout the season. Last but not least, I got to do a movie review. It's the Ferg 5. The movie I'm going to review real briefly is Weapons. Weapons was a phenomenal movie. It's supposed to be a horror movie, but it was actually a thriller, suspense, and I loved what they did. They did that. It's not a spoiler alert, but the way they told the story, and it was through the different characters' point of view of what was going on in the movie. I thought it was a phenomenal movie, and I'm definitely giving it a Ferg 5. A Ferg 5. You got a chance to get a 1 to a 5 out of the Ferg 5, and I'm going to give this a Ferg 5. For sure, for sure. A Ferg 5 on that right there. And the next one, the last one before I bring up my guests, the one I did a review is the Katrina one. This one was Katrina, Hell and High Water. All I have to say, it was a very deep documentary. It showed a whole lot of the behind the scenes about how they was treating the blacks during that time. When people were looting, they said the blacks were looting, but when the whites were looting, they said they was trying to survive. Then they had the troops, they pointing their guns at the citizens during that time. It was a lot going on that really opened my eyes to how the government treat their people during a time of crisis. And if you have to check this out, that's definitely a Ferg 5. You got to check it out. It'll definitely open up your eyes to a lot of things that happened with the government during that time when we were in need. You know what I mean? That's I'm gonna just leave it like that. I may even talk about it again next week because I gotta get my guest in here. He's definitely in the waiting room. But let me give you the prelude to this young man that's gonna be coming up after this break. This guy is a legend in the comedy game. I worked with him. He's a very upstanding guy, willing to impart knowledge on up and coming comedians. I've been doing comedy for 12 years. He's been doing it way longer than that. Anytime we work together, we talk, we chop it up or whatnot, and he always, give me bits and pieces of knowledge willingly. Some people in his when I read his bio, people that's in that bracket, they always standoffish when it comes to giving, knowledge on the comedy game. But let me read some of his bio. His name is, you guys, when I say his name, you already know him. Bodacious, comedian Bodacious, is a stand-up comedian from the Hampton Roads area and has a long storied history on stage and radio. Bo has shared the stage with the likes of Dave Chappelle, Paul Mooney, Cedric the Entertainer, Mike Epps, S'more, and Monique, and the list goes on. He has written for numerous comedians and has traveled with D.L. Hewley for approximately 10 years. He's known for his quick wit, all race humor, not racist. I want y'all to understand, not racist as in division, but RACES, mean everybody across the board. He has a remarkable singing voice. Bo has no boundaries and is among the most diverse comedians working today. Also seen on TV One's Roland Martin Show, NBC's Stand Up for Diversity, and the PBS Network. And he recently was heard on the Joe Budden podcast. After these messages, we're going to have the legendary Bodacious. Y'all stay tuned and come back. Yes, yes. We have the legendary him, the legend himself, Mr. Bodacious. Give it up. I mean, we gotta clap it up for you. You know what I'm saying? Gotta
What's
clap it
happening?
up
What's
for you,
happening?
bro. First of all, thank you for coming on the show, man. I know your plate is full, and you to take the opportunity to. There's the applause. There's the applause. You were able to take the opportunity to share, some time, split hairs and share a little time with us. What's going on, man? It's been a minute since we talked. How's everything going?
First of all, thanks for having me, man. And the applause was delayed like it usually is when I'm on stage. So I'm used to it. And you was reading my bio. I'm like, man, I gotta, now that I hear it out loud, it's like I gotta change this bio, man. Because it's been a while since I updated it. Now that I hear it, I'm like, oh
it's
man.
Yeah, man. I mean, you have a very outstanding bio. I mean, I know you personally, but it's different when you read that person's bio. It's just like, man, this guy has been is phenomenal.
Yeah, that's
I
not
have the
even that's
pleasure
not
of
even the
knowing
tip of the
you.
iceberg, honestly. That's just a couple things I put up there. That's a
Right,
lot,
right.
man. You do a lot in 30 years.
Yeah, 30 years. That
Yeah, man.
I mean, I'm only in 12 years. That's still nothing in the game, but man,
No,
and
12 is
that's that.
significant. Don't downplay 12 years. That's significant.
Well, I appreciate that,
Yeah.
but you've been 30 years on the road. That's definitely a lot for a comedian, especially nowadays. Everything is quick, and people want the quick TikTok situations. But being on stage after stage, it's just definitely phenomenal. I know who you are, but can you tell? And I know I gave a little quick snapshot. Can you tell the audience who is Bodacious?
Man, just a kid from Norfolk, man, that tried this comedy thing back in 95 and decided that I wanted to take it the entire route. That's
Mm-hmm.
that's me in a nutshell. Had bumps
Uh,
and bruises along the way, but everybody does. But yeah, I'm a comedian, man. That's pretty much all I've wanted to be since I picked up that mic. You know,
right, right.
so I don't have a whole lot of other stuff that I aspire to be. It's just I want to be one of the best ever at what I do.
Now, what ignited you to what said? What sparked that in your brain and say, you know what, I'm gonna try picking up this microphone and see what I do. Okay, so let me ask a fun fact. Before you picked up the mic, what were you doing? Were job related wise,
There
and
was no
then
job.
oh, it was no job. You just went straight to the
Nah, I
stage.
was I was I was selling cocaine. That was the job. Yeah, man. I mean, ain't no sense missing words. My story is part of what I am.
Right.
I went from the corner to the stage, man. There was no in between. The only reason
Wow.
I had a only reason I had a job from 97 to '07 was because, it was probation mandated. So,
Right.
I had to work. Other than that, I probably would have still been out in the corner,
Wow.
waiting on something to manifest with this.
Wow. That's amazing. And you don't get to hear those stories because a lot of times people work regular jobs or somebody who's like, okay, I dare you to do comedy and stuff like that. So your thing was, I'm out here, I might as well be productive and do something, one or the other. This has to be it.
There was a dare involved. When I was out on the corners hustling, going to the comedy club was my leisure.
Mhm.
A lot of guys went to the club and went and fornicated with loose women. But I went to the comedy club. That was my release, and I went with a friend of mine, man, and we used to go up there and like watch the comedy shows and all that. So being a comedian wasn't a lifelong dream or anything. It's just when I saw a lot of guys and females that I saw on Comic View or Def Jam or whatever, and I got a chance to see them in person. you
Mhm.
know, I just had this revelation, like, man, I can do that. Like
Right.
it's pretty much that's what it was that sparked everything was the fact that I knew I could do it, and probably
Mm-hmm.
do it better than a lot of what I was seeing. So,
Right.
it came from a place of vanity, man. The reason
Mm-hmm.
why I'm doing this is because I just knew I could do it. But it's
Wow.
definitely not as easy as I thought it would be. This is an incredibly difficult art form that we're in, and
Right.
people downplay it like you're just a clown and all that, and it's pretty far from the truth.
Yeah, absolutely. And you brought up a good point. People definitely think this is easy. You go watch the open mics, or I mean, basically, you watch any open mic, you see the guy that worked at the job, and he got a bunch of his people at the comedy club or wherever at the
Uh-huh.
open mic. Hey, I can do this, and they struggle because you have to learn how to write, and you can't wing. There are some people that can do improv and just go off, but 9 times out of 10, you have to write for your shows. And not and the funny thing about it is when I watch your work, and it's just like, man, like each time you go up, I mean, it's this is your presence, and it's funny. A lot of people
Appreciate it.
can't understand that all the elements of comedy, like your presence alone, put a stamp on stuff, and then your delivery, and then your time. It's a lot. It's a lot of inner
Yeah,
workings.
absolutely.
Uh, and some of your major accomplishments. So you definitely toured with DL. How did that come about?
Well, I met DL in '06 when Funny
Uh,
Bone first opened. He came to the Funny Bone one weekend, and that's when I was hosting. I think when the Funny Bone first opened, I
mm,
hosted for the first 5 months because they didn't know any other comedians around here. And leave it to me, I would have left it that way because
right.
that was the only gig I had. So
Uh,
for the first 5 months, I hosted every weekend, and they were bringing heavy hitters, man. And DL comes in, and I was told that they were going to only do a 2-man show, which is what he and I do now.
right.
Um, but they saw how heartbroken I was behind it, and they let me host the show. So, I
Hmm.
met him and, found out we had so much in common. And a lot of people don't know he's from Portsmouth, man. So,
Right.
yeah, so he was born in Virginia. He had a son with Asperger's, and he
Hmm.
was in gang and drug activities before he started doing comedy. It just we had so much in common, man. So we ended up becoming brothers, and we built
Wow.
on that. And next thing you know, maybe 4 or 5 years later, I started hitting the road with him.
Yeah, that's dope. That's dope. And
Yeah.
then another aspect, as a comedian, you write for other people. Now, how did you hop in that way? I know, like as a comedian, you try to wear as many hats to keep that your
Yeah.
home. You know what I'm
That
saying? Pay the bills and stuff. So, how did you jump into the world of writing for other comedians?
Well, I think I started writing for other comics during COVID. Um,
Okay.
but I knew that I was, my imagination is, like a lot of comedians, we have vivid imaginations because you have to be wired differently to want to do this, man.
Mm-hmm.
I say it all the time. Comedians are pretty much crazy, you know, in a sense, because to want to make people laugh for a living, you have to be a little bit deranged or wired differently. So
Right.
my imagination has always been vivid and just off. So I knew that I would be a good writer, and
Mm-hmm.
I had a few comics, come to me during COVID that a few comics that were able to still perform during COVID,
Right.
and I lent them my pen, and I lent my pen to one particular person that hosted an awards show, and
Wow.
I wrote half his monologue, and when I saw the check from that, I was like, okay, this is a
Yeah.
lot better than being a comic. So yeah, my pen game is strong, and it's always available for who needs it.
Oh, that's dope. That's dope. Now, there's two things in comedy, as most crafts. You and I both know there's rewards and there's challenges. Let's start with the challenges. What are some of the challenges? Especially you being that you're a role comedian and
Right.
you're going all over. You're traveling all over.
Mhm.
What are some of the challenges thus far of your career? I mean, of 30 years, which is highly, oh man, it's dope because you don't get that often. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, what are some of the challenges of being a role comedian of 30 years?
Um, well, the pros very much outweigh the cons, but some of the challenges for me, I mean, I'm 6'4", 260, man, 265. I'm a big guy. So,
Right,
I got a lot of birthdays on these knees and this back, man. So, challenges, it's getting a little more difficult to travel. It's a little more taxing,
right,
so taking a flight out to the West Coast and getting up at 3:30 in the morning to get a 6 a.m. flight or whatever out of here, and
mm-hmm,
then flying 5 hours and a couple connections or whatever the case may be, and then get out to the West Coast, and now I'm on that time, which is draining in itself. And
right,
then I have a show, two shows later on that night. That is
mm-hmm,
very, very taxing, man, on anybody. Now
right,
you add the fact that I'm 50 and I'm a pretty big dude, and a little, yeah,
mm-hmm.
that is my only challenge, I think. Other than that, man, once I get on stage, I'm gonna rock out.
And that you do, that you do. Now, what's some of the rewards when it comes to doing comedy?
But the rewards are, it's just, when I first started doing this, it was just, for my own, it was self-serving.
Right,
I wanted to be funny, and I wanted to drink a couple beers and, hit a couple chicks or whatever. And, as
mm-hmm,
you get older and you start to find out, that comedians are prophets, and you have to use your platform not only to be funny, but to enlighten a few people and drop a few jewels, a few nuggets or whatever.
mm-hmm,
Then it becomes a lot more, in the grand scheme of things, you start looking at it a little bit differently. Like, I have a responsibility, and
right,
I don't just do this to be funny, because there's so many people that need what I do. I provide a service. I'm a
correct,
prophet, man,
mm-hmm,
and I do know when people laugh, they tend to be blinded for a few seconds. You ever notice when you laugh, you close your eyes, and that's because you're blinded. And
right,
while people are blind for those few seconds, I'm gonna always drop a jewel in there, a couple nuggets to try to enlighten them. So,
mm-hmm,
you know, because I know how powerful laughter is. It's not just for the sake of laughing. You have to make a difference while you're doing it. And I've only
correct,
started feeling that way, the last maybe 10, 15 years, when I saw the impact that I had on audiences.
mm-hmm,
Now it's not self-serving. I mean, of course it's self-serving still, because, I need this. This is what drives me. This is the only thing that I love,
right.
aside from my kids and my wife. So, you know, it's definitely in the grand scheme of things, it's more important now for me to do something significant, say something significant.
Yeah, because we are the commentators for people where they may not say these things, and so we pretty much say it for them. And like you said, I like the fact that you said uh, to drop some jewels on them while you're up there. I like to utilize the same situation where we allow people to forget about their troubles for the moment, whether
Right.
they're getting a divorce or they got bills to pay, whatever they situation, whatever's going on for that moment, whether the comedian is hilarious or horrible, they're not thinking about none of that stuff. They're just thinking about the show at that moment, and whoever's doing comedy up there at the moment, they're
Hmm.
allowed to forget about their troubles, which
Right.
is that's our job as a comedian, and I love it. 12 years in, and just be able to bring joy to people, especially when people come up to me like, I don't usually like comedy shows, but I enjoy myself tonight. Though,
Yeah.
those are my highlights, personally.
Also, I had a few people come to me after shows and tell me, wow, you know how much I needed that. That's when I
Mm,
started to focus on, okay, this is a service that I'm providing to people that they need. It's like being a doctor or whatever.
right.
You have something they need and something they desire, and something that's going to
Mm,
help them get through the next couple of hours or days or weeks or whatever.
right.
People, everybody's going through something, man. Everybody has something. Nobody escapes the wrath. Everybody
Right.
has something they're going through. So,
Correct.
knowing that, being aware of that, that's why I don't care if it's 5 people or 500, I'm always go out there and do what I do and try to uplift folks.
Yeah, and that you do every time, every
Yeah.
time, and that definitely comes because you're seasoned and you know how to read a room, which is effective. You may have one way that you might come in there, but then you see how the audience is reacting to the other comedians, and you just switch gears, which is a skill in itself. A lot of comedians don't read the room, and it's an art form.
Well,
Um,
it's a learned skill too, man. Like
mm,
when you've been doing this for a long time, you've been put in a lot of different situations,
right,
and you can't always say I've seen it all because you haven't, but
correct.
I've done everything, man. Every foreseeable situation, I have seen it. So
Mm,
when you have been in that, you adapt. So it's a skill, but it's also a learned skill. It's something that you acquire as you go throughout your travels and doing this. You know, I've
mm,
I've been in I don't know if you've ever heard this story before, but it used to be a gig in Carrollton or Ivor. Yeah, I think it was Ivor. Something
uh-huh.
way somewhere down there in Isle of Wight County. It was a nudist colony. And I don't even know if it's still there, but it was called
I heard about
Whitetail
those.
Nudist Colony. And they used to be a gig, man.
Uh
Back in the 90s, early 2000s, it was a gig. And you told jokes to people who were naked. Now,
huh.
mind you, at that point, I was still a very immature man. And, you're told straight up, don't talk about, the people. But, I'm a man and a young man, and all I'm thinking is I'm gonna see some naked folks. But
Right.
the thing is, the people in the nudist colonies are the people you don't want to see naked. So it was disgusting. I mean, it caused
Wow.
me to do my act, man, because it was like, please, I don't want to see none of these people. There was
Mhm.
no nice looking bodies I wanted to look at. They were all like melted ice cream.
Oh, wow. And I do remember that. I remember somebody telling me that they worked that gig before, and it was
It was
like you
four hundred
said,
dollars, man. That was a lot of
there
money
was like
back in the day. Yeah.
they were looking forward to it because they news columns. I get to, bro. When
Nah, it
they
was nothing to
got
look
there, it
forward
was
to.
just like I'm gonna just do
Gross.
this and get up out of
Yeah.
here.
$400 though, man.
But they pay good though.
Yeah, $400. I mean, I guess $400 back then was 1,000 or whatever it is today with inflation, but it was a lot of money. I did
Yeah,
it a
and
couple times.
even now, shoot, a $400 gig for what 15-20 minutes. That's still not bad. Not
It's
bad
still
at all.
significant. Yeah, people struggling, man. $400 goes a long way.
Right. And before we get into the main thing, you're going to talk about that's coming up next week. What are your thoughts on the comedy game now? I know you've been in it 30 years. It has definitely evolved to a, a different game now. What are your
Yeah.
thoughts on it now?
Well, I mean, just like the rap game and a lot of other things, it evolves. And
Mm-hmm.
when you're used to doing comedy a certain way or rapping a certain way, you know, you're not necessarily happy about where the game evolves to. But you have to adapt, man. And there was a point in my career where I was kind of, maybe a little salty about that.
Mm-hmm.
But funny is funny, and the cream will always rise to the top. One
Correct.
thing, one thing these new cats have to learn, man. I don't care how great you are online, you still got to be funny on stage. So if you're not, with your popularity or your millions of followers,
Mm-hmm.
you may be able to travel this country a couple of times, but once people start to see you, they will never, and they know that you stink. They will never forgive you for that, and they'll
Wow.
never come out and see you ever again. And that's why you're
Yeah.
going to see some of these people fall off the radar, which we are seeing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Before we go, we got to talk about that's what's coming up here at the Funny Bone in Virginia Beach.
And
The return of Apollo Night. I
well,
think
not the
what
return, but
the,
it's a
huh?
reunion. It's a
I'm
reunion.
sorry, the
Yeah.
reunion. Now I've been doing comedy 12 years, and I remember before I
You,
started, you guys were already doing it.
it was a tale. It's been 12 and a half years since I did the last
Yeah,
show. Man.
yeah. And people was like, because I was just thinking about it, and I was doing a couple of open mics, and they was like, "Would you do that?" I was like, "Nah, I'm not ready for nothing like that."
Yeah, it
So
wasn't for the faint of heart, man.
so tell us about how y'all got that started into how y'all end up doing this reunion on next Wednesday. You give us all the details of how they get tickets. But how did it start, and then how did y'all get this reunion going?
Um, well, the Funny Bone came here in 2005, I believe. Or
Mm-hmm.
was it? It's either 2004 December or 2005 December. I'm not sure, but I think it was 2005. But like I
Right,
said, I hosted every show for the first 5 months, and which is a lot of shows when you think about it. But
right.
other comedians started to seep in, and they started getting weekends, and finally, the GM at the time asked me if I wanted, my own show. He was like,
Mm-hmm.
I know you can do it. You know, it'll be a more of an urban show. It'll be on Wednesdays, and you know, it's yours if you want it. And of course, at that time, I was like, yeah, I'll take it. And so I think February or March of '06, um, I started, or it's either, I think it was '07. No, it was
Mm-hmm.
'06. Started doing the Apollo night. That's what they named it. I didn't name it. But
Right.
that was their way of saying Negro night. So, and that's what it was. Wednesday, man. Every Wednesday, I did 350 people, man. And in this area, that is insane.
Right.
And when I tell you, sometimes we would turn away 100 people because
Mm.
it was that popular, and it held that popularity for 3 or 4 years. I mean,
Wow.
this was the place to be if you were a comedian,
Mm-hmm.
and everybody's touching my stage because everybody heard about it.
Right.
That's why Guy Torrey did his documentary on Amazon Prime about his night Fat Tuesdays out in L.A.
Yeah, that was a good doc.
Yeah, and he shouted me out on it.
I remember that.
Yeah, he shouted me because what I did can't be ignored, man. It was substantial. To
Mm-hmm.
have a urban comedy night for 7 years is nothing short of a miracle because it's
Yeah.
grand opening and grand closing when it comes to black folks and
Uh,
stuff like that. Unfortunately, that's not something I'm shining light on, but
right.
it's
Right.
only it's only been a few of us that have had a run that substantial. And it's like me and Guy Torrey and D Ray. I think he had his in Chicago. And it
Mm-hmm.
might be somebody else, but it's a very short list. I can count them on one hand who's held urban rooms for that long, especially once a week. This wasn't once a month. This was once a week. And I was
And that's
working
a
it.
task.
Yeah, I was doing everything, man. I had a job at that time because I was still on probation.
Uh-huh.
And, I would still pick comedians up from the airport, get them to the radio station, and,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes take them back to the airport. And then I would host a show at 10 o'clock. Now, keep in mind, this was a 10 o'clock show on a Wednesday, which is unheard of. Another, something that's unheard of,
Mm-hmm.
especially for Virginia. This is 10 o'clock is a LA or New York thing. Um,
Right, right.
but that's when they used to do shows on Wednesday. So there was a Wednesday show at 8 o'clock, and then there was a 10 o'clock. But
Mm-hmm.
everybody touched my stage, man, from you know Kevin Hart to Tony Rock and Guy
Mm-hmm.
Torrey and D Ray and so many comedians would come do my 10 o'clock show. And it was it
Right.
was it was significant, man. It ran for a long time, and it just started to lose its luster because they didn't want to put money into it. And you know, by this time, I'm seasoned, and I'm doing a lot of the show
Right.
up front because some of the headliners weren't all that great. So It lost
Now,
its luster, and then 2012 was the last show
wow.
in
Now,
December.
how many people were on those shows? Uh,
We did like 8 people, maybe something like that.
uh
Yeah, it was like 8 comedians. Sometimes it would be more than that, man. Those shows would go. It'd be after midnight we get out of there, man, on Wednesday, and then people will go to the club afterward, man. This was good times, and
hmm
they've been asking me for years, you should do another one, and I'm like, nah, I'm done, man, because 7 years doing a weekly show is a lifetime in this business, and
Yes.
I was just sick of it, man. I'm just gonna be
hmm
honest. I was sick of it, and I said no more, and I walked away. And
Right.
and maybe a couple months after I walked away, I started hitting the road with DL. So it all worked out for me.
That's
But
good.
somebody came to me a couple weeks ago and was like, "Hey man, we should do a reunion before they close the doors and move across the street." And I'm like, and I said no.
hmm
And you know, maybe a week after that, 2 weeks after that, I was in LA. And I did Tony Rock's podcast, and he asked me about the show, and he was like, "Man, didn't you used to host that Wednesday night?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Man, you should bring it back." And man, I don't know how I let him convince me, but it's like when I walked out, once you see it from another comic's perspective, man, that's done stuff like that or has a significant career. You listen to him in a different light. Um,
hmm
but when I walked out of there, I called the guy I said no to, and I told him, "Let's do it." So here we are. Don't make me regret this.
Right, right. Now, with 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 that being said, so you had about 8 comedians, um, and doing it every week. I know I've produced shows, and I've done a weekly show before. I've done a twice a month show,
You know how taxing it
and
is.
oh my goodness,
I'm
I've
still
done
tired, man.
Cosby's. Me and Donna Lewis. Um, we did Cosby's
Mhm.
Sunday Funnies
Right.
uh pre-COVID, before COVID. And it seemed like those Sundays was coming fast. At first, it was like, okay, this will be easy. Man, you
No, it's
book that
not, man.
show. Next thing you know, it's Wednesday, Thursday. Like, man, I gotta get somebody on the show. And she was
Hmm.
real organized. So she had a doggone spreadsheet of people that we've already put on and people that we
Right.
need to put. Man, even with that organization, she it was still taxing. So I
Yeah, it
can
is, man.
I get it. And then, but yours is definitely even more taxing because like
Airport,
Sunday Funnies is
radio
an early
station.
show.
Yeah.
Is a is an early show. So for Apollo Night, that was a late show. So every
Hmm.
Wednesday from 10 to 12, going through all these acts, whether they're great or not great, is still every Wednesday. And for 7 years,
Hmm. Yeah,
that
I'm still tired, man. A lot of these grades I got came from that time period.
right, right. So
Yeah.
tell everybody about the show. How can they get tickets?
Yeah.
Of course, we know it's going to be at the Funny Bone, and who's going to be on the show. And I know you said a special guest, and you definitely can't reveal that.
Yeah, I can't
But
reveal that, but it's a very, very special guest. Um, I'll just say, mm, what can I say? If I say it, it's gonna give it away.
no, yeah,
Yeah,
we
I
can
can
leave it.
say it.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
yeah, like always, I always had drop-ins because people love to be a
hmm
part of what I had going on. But September the 10th, man, we are a week away from today.
right,
September the 10th at the Funny Bone, man. It is gonna be epic. I'm hoping that it's epic. If not, then you know, at least we put the show to bed for good. But
right,
yeah, man, I of course and my man Angus Black, who was always I don't want to say sidekick, but that was my go-to guy. When I went
right,
in there,
right.
he hosted it and he was always a primary part of it. So
hmm
yeah, Angus Black is gonna be on it, Antoine Scott and Jay Ski from Richmond.
right.
They were always on my show. Um, Monty Rogers was always on the show. He's going to be there. James
hmm
Lawson from Richmond. Richmond was always an integral part of Apollo Night. Those guys drove down here, man. And drove back on Wednesday nights just to come down here and get a spot. Um, Quincy Carr is going to be on the show, another
Mhm.
homeboy of mine, and it's going to be, maybe a few guest spots or whatever, but it's going to be, it's going to be, it's going to be epic, man. It'll be
Right.
nice to be back in that environment after 12 years. Everybody, has attained a level of success,
Mhm.
and since then, and it's been comics that have become successful, man. Um,
Right.
they've been catapulted to success.
Catapulted.
Yeah,
Shot into the atmosphere.
from doing my show, man.
Mhm.
A lot of people don't know Jay Farrow started on my stage. I ain't gonna
Wow.
say that was his first show, but
But
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, he shaped himself, you know, on that stage.
can
Um,
we pull up the flyer again? The lineup is phenomenal,
oh
phenomenal.
yeah, for a Wednesday night show, yeah. And this
I
used to
mean,
be this used to be like a typical lineup, man.
wow,
Which is crazy. That lineup looked just like that 80% of the time. It was
wow,
always some dogs on that show, man. And you had to be a dog because,
yeah,
you know, 757 ain't gonna settle for less.
correct. Did y'all get that? It's September 10th, a Wednesday night. And what time was the show?
I believe it's 8. I'm not sure
Eight.
about that. I think it's 8 o'clock.
Okay.
Yeah, ain't no more 10 o'clock on Wednesday shows around here, but check vbfunnybone.com. Don't quote me because I'm not involved in the tiny
Intricacies. Yeah.
of the show. I
Intricacies.
just know I'm
Yeah.
hosting it per usual, and I'm a host the hell out of it. I can say hell in a regular
Absolutely.
way.
And I'm definitely looking forward to it. Like Bodacious said, it's the Apollo Night reunion Wednesday, September 10th. Get your tickets at vb.funnybone.com. And man, I appreciate you coming through on the show.
Yes,
Where
sir.
can people follow you? Not to 7-Eleven. Please don't follow homie to 7-Eleven. But
um, my
but where can they
platforms
find you at? Follow you at?
my platforms are Twitter and Facebook. Well, not whatever it is, X and Facebook and Instagram. If you put Bo last name in, you should be able to find me everywhere. I think
Mhm.
Facebook is Bo last name Dacious, and yeah, X and IG is Bo last name. Those 3 words: Bo Bo last LAST name NAME. Bo last name.
Got you.
I ain't one of these online dudes, and so you ain't gonna see a whole lot of content, but I got some funny
Right.
stuff up there I do every once in a while. I'm just not gonna be pressured to do it.
Oh yeah, I got you. I got you. But definitely, I appreciate you showing the love, coming on the show as always. I am gonna be there in attendance. Man, I'm looking forward to it as a fire lineup that people should not miss. I mean,
Absolutely.
it's hard. But I definitely appreciate you coming on and we'll be chopping it up next Wednesday when I see you in person, bro.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me, man.
All right, man. You have a good night and be easy.
All right, y'all do the same.
All right. Man, what an amazing, 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 amazing show. Hey, can y'all put up the fly again? But man, yeah, it's gonna wait, hold on. Let me no, y'all good. I'm gonna look at it like I'm trying to look at it the right. Oh yeah, there it is. I was trying to look at it like yeah, and the way I'm looking up, this show is huge. Just as I'm looking up at the flyer, this show is huge. Hosted by Bodacious. Yeah, James Lawson, Quincy Carr, Antoine Scott, Angus Black, Jay Ski, Monty Raj, and special guests and more. Thank you for bringing up that flyer. I appreciate it. And if you're a fan of comedy, if you're a fan of comedy or you're a comedian in this area, you got to slide through. You have to slide through. It's like you have to wash up in the morning. You have to come through the show. Yeah, it's a must. It's a must. And might be airing this show On Tuesday, we just gonna replay this show. How about that? On Tuesday, we're gonna replay this show. So the people that didn't see it tonight, they will see it tomorrow on Tuesday night, so they can get their tickets for this show. It's phenomenal. I got some things going on too. I listen. I have a show that I wrote a while ago. This is a stage play. It's called Until Death Do Us Part. It's a phenomenal show. I'm not listen. I'm not saying it's phenomenal just because I directed and wrote this show. The cast is phenomenal. We had rehearsal last night, and when I say they are bringing the heat, they're bringing the funny, they're bringing the drama. It's a lot going on. There's so many levels to this show. It's a show based on relationships and autism. You gotta be there. You gotta be there. I'm gonna update the information on this because I got a word today that we're gonna be moving this show to November 1st. But listen, the show gonna be fire. We moved it to November 1st because I want to put some more, as a director, I want to put some more seasoning on it. Because what we have right now, what we got right now going on with this show, it's phenomenal. But we putting some more seasoning on it. And by going from September 27th to November 1st, come a little close. Come a little close. By it being November 1st, we're gonna have some more seasoning and stuff on it. And you know, when you mix up the meat, you put the season. Pause. You gotta say pause or no homo or all that stuff when you reference certain things. Know how you making hamburgers and you get the season and you put the seasoning in and the pepper and the other stuff going on, whatever you want to put in your hamburger, the green peppers, and you take it and you season it. Because you season it because you want it to taste right. Like, you don't just take hamburger and put it in a pan without seasoning. You take the hamburger and you put, because it's going to taste nasty. If you don't put no seasoning on it, you just take it out the pack and throw it in the bowl, it's going to taste nasty. I guarantee you that. But when you add your little pepper, your seasoned salt, your onion flakes, or your green peppers, and you season it just right, and you put it in the bowl. On the pan. And, well, before you put it in the pan, you make the patty, and you put it in the pan and let it fry, or you put it on the grill or whatever. It comes out great. It's very seasoned. And this show, November 1st. At the Family Fun Experience Theater. That's where it's going to be held at. And it's going to be a phenomenal show. And although, yes, that's on the ocean front, people are going to worry about parking. There's going to be no issues with parking. No issues with parking. They have food on deck. Of course, the food is not free, but the food is phenomenal at this location. The food, they got drinks, and for those who want to be social drinkers, they have drinks, and it's a phenomenal place. Just make sure you just follow my updates, and then October 8th, our midweek comedy relief is going to be coming October 8th. So it's a lot of stuff jumping off. I didn't mention a lot of up front because, you know, we had a lot going on with the show. But don't forget to get your tickets for the comedy show that's coming next week. And it's the reunion, the Apollo Night reunion hosted by Bodacious with a very funny lineup. It's been great talking to y'all tonight on this day, wonderful Wednesday. Remember, be great on purpose, stay connected to God, and let your faith be bigger than you. Y'all have a great night. Signing off. Until next time. God bless.